Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're playing the Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. And this one, yet again, another coffee cup highlight sent in by Aristodemos, and once again, it's actually Loupi again. And it's actually Loupi, his other match against h455566hh. I think I nailed it. I think I got it. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, it's another one with him. He's been in some great matches lately. Honestly, I think Loupi is fast becoming one of my favourite players of this game. He always brings something slightly different, which I really appreciate. So anyway, here you can see he's playing as the Wood Elves. He's against the Lizardmen. He has 2 units of Wild Riders in the back here, 1 hidden in the trees. He's got 4 units of Eternal Guard. He's got a Spellsinger of Life on an Eagle, so really manoeuvrable and actually quite good at gooning with a bit of backup. You know, pretty good for chasing units off and the like. So very cool. A lot of utility, especially because of all the healing. So regrowth and Earthblood, very, very nice. And here, a Glade Lord. That's right, there is a Glade Lord. It is the female Glady, as people like to call her. So Prey of Anathrema for netting things down. Really good to stop any sort of cavalry from getting too close, so you can use it defensively, or you can use it very aggressively if you hit a Lord or something within range of these 3 Way Watchers. These 3 Way Watchers can do an extra 22% damage, which is pretty significant, especially on a target that can't dodge. You know, that's just pinned in place. It's brutal. So yeah, 3 Way Watchers is very scary indeed. So, HH5, here we can see he's got Saurus Warriors. Saurus Warriors, great here actually. They just beat the snot out of Eternal Guard, and Eternal Guard is sort of the most common roadblock, and they kind of have like middling armor, so they're not bad against things like Way Watchers. They tend to match up fairly well, especially because they have such huge weapon strength. They don't have to get over much armor, so really good in this matchup. They can beat up pretty much anything except trees, which is rather nice. Over here, you can see skink cohorts with javelins. Nice to have something with shields, and also a little bit of extra missile damage. You can throw some javelins at things, get some extra hurt in, and some extra poison at a distance. There's also 2 Bastillodons with solar engines, which will need to create some space between these and the Way Watchers very quickly if he wants to keep them alive, because they're quite big targets and they can get melted very quickly. But Bastillodon solar engines are great, not just for the fire damage, but also because of blinded. It'll lower melee attack, accuracy, and the melee defense as well. So they're really good. I really love them. I think they're fantastic, the solar engines. They're very, very cool. And now it's saying poison damage on the missiles for him, which is novel. What? How unusual. Huh. Poison and blinded, apparently. So that's fun. So here you can see Tehenowin as well. Rarely see Tehenowin. I mean, he's fairly new to the scene. We saw him constantly for a while, but he wasn't really in the meta all that much. But honestly, Flock of Doom is pretty damn useful for whittling down any sort of blobs of infantry. And Wissen's Wild Form is nice to add that extra weapon damage and armor. It is very, very handy. So here you can see there are Cold One Riders, some more skinks. We actually have the Paho Sentinels, which I think is an interesting move. I mean, they're quite good for the harass. I mean, they don't have to deal with much armor, so if I can actually get onto their unit card, that'd be lovely. Here we go. So missile damage, very good missile damage, and poison. They can whittle things down rather well. You know, they're not half bad. Also, they do have those drop rocks, which are rocks of sundering, so they can lower armor even more, which is kind of cool. Especially if there are some trees or something, you can just nuke their armor a bit and get some extra damage in with everything else. Also over here, more armor piercing, Cav here with the Cold One Riders. Not gone for the anti-large though, which I think is kind of interesting. But I guess they don't really need the anti-large because they've got, you know, pretty good charge bonuses, pretty good melee attack. They can certainly ride down a lot of, you know, any unit they're after. They can ride them down pretty well if they get the charge. So you don't necessarily need the anti-large here. So, right, I guess that's it. Let's move on. I think that's it. Nope, I forgot to mention these guys. There is also the Pokepack cohort, which are great because they can Vanguard. Need I say more? That's just super useful against the Wood Elves, being able to Vanguard like that. Because usually Wood Elves are the ones doing all the Vanguard shenanigans. So over here you can see the Wild Riders did charge in, try and deal with the Umbral Tide are in here too. The Umbral Tide, so more fire damage and really good anti-large missile damage. They're very scary units, but they are flimsy as hell. Wild Riders can melt them, but only if they're in melee at range. You can see the Umbral Tide do very, very well against them. So here you can see Eternal Guard have got in. There's an Earthblood extended here, try and keep the Wild Riders happy, and over here you can see the skinks have been suffering quite a bit of damage, and more Wild Riders are pushing in to wipe them out nice and quickly because there's nothing to defend them. Now the Glade Lord is looming. Huge hits on the Eternal Guard over here from the Bastillodons. It's nice just to whittle them down that substantially. And here you can see the Wild Riders are struggling too, and the Spellsinger is in this fight as well. So here, net down the Cold One Riders and make sure just to nuke them. The Umbral Tide is getting just punished by the Glade Lord, and yeah, the Cold One Riders can't get a good surround on this stuff because they've been netted, so nice to use that defensively and defensively, kind of at the same time. It defends you so you can attack, which is very cool. So over here, Wissen's Wildfawn put the attack damage up, and you can see the Gladelord is suffering quite a bit of damage. Over on this side, there's been a lot of charges going on. The Pocket Pack cohort finally got involved. They have done some damage to the Way Watchers, but they've been incredibly caught out here, just sandwiched between Wild Riders, and they're going to shatter almost certainly. But Wild Riders need to push on, get into these Skink cohorts. Again, super injured just from that one volley from the Way Watchers, and one decent charge from Cavalry is going to wipe them out pretty much. So over here, Eternal Guard still keeping all this cav busy, but there's still a lot of cavalry over here, and they did manage to wipe out one unit of Wild Riders, which is very painful. Over here you can see a Flock of Doom on the Way Watchers. It's not going to kill any models, but it'll lower their health pool. So as soon as, say, these guys start throwing some javelins, you're more likely to kill models. So it does help, you know, one charge, they're not going to get knocked over and get back up again. They're going to get knocked over and be dead. So over here you can see Pocket Pack cohort have actually managed to get out of there without shattering, but my god, they've taken some punishment, and no healing on the table for the Lizardmen. More hits in multiple directions from the Bastiladons. They're doing some great work here, and the Saurus Warriors are pretty much untouched, able to get in here and do some serious work. Tehennowin, though, getting really caught up in this engagement. You can see Wild Riders in here. They will be taking a lot of damage from the Saurus Warriors, but with the Dragon and the Eagle in here, and Tehennowin struggling to push through all of the cavalry, Tehennowin's taken a ton of damage, but he has escaped. He has escaped, and it means these Saurus Warriors can keep getting some damage on these very low armoured units, but more healing. Nope, Flock of Doom. Flock of Doom to help whittle down the Eternal Guard, by the looks of it. Very nice. So, all the Way Watchers right near the back of the map now. You can see white line here and here. They can't really run away any further. So over here, Pocket Pack cohort getting absolutely melted. Wild Riders charging in, trying to deal with all of these, but Saurus Warriors are pushing in. Saurus Warriors are in here, and the Gladelord is taking some massive punishment from the Bastiladons. Paho Sentinels charging in now, and here you can see Eternal Guard have been doing quite well over here. These Wild Riders are still going. These Wild Riders are just about going, but these Cold One Riders are doing some great damage in kind. They are out of control, which means they will get some slight buffs as well, thanks to Primal Instincts. But they also have a big buff thanks to Wissen's Wild Form, and they can do some considerable damage now. So they're definitely going to be a bit scary, as damaged as they are. Over here, though, Paho Sentinels trying to run in to pin down these Way Watchers while the Saurus Warriors do their job, and the Bastiladons can get some more damage into the Gladelord. So just delaying the support of all these Way Watchers. Sadly, doesn't delay it for long. Over here, more delaying strategies going on, but very costly. Spellsinger of Life having to try and keep these Saurus Warriors busy while this is dealt with. This Dragon could easily jump in and do a ton of work to these Saurus Warriors. Now Way Watchers firing in, doing some extra damage. But look at this, the Gladelord actually wavering now and might not be able to get any more healing because that Spellsinger has been dealt with. So beautifully played by the Lizardmen here, just putting pressure in all the right places, forcing Loupi to have to just throw units away. You know, it is super risky. Over here, though, Wild Riders making sure these guys can't keep shooting, but it's too late. That Spellsinger is shattered, and that Gladelord could really do with a regrowth right now. Over here, Way Watchers just pulling back as much as they can. Wild Riders working overtime to try and finish off what units they can, because the numbers are going to be a huge problem. You know, if you can just send off units in every direction, it is putting that pressure on. But now, as you can see, there are still some Wild Riders left, so the Wood Elves do have the maneuverability, which is going to be very, very beneficial for defending the Way Watchers that still have plenty of ammunition. Glady, though, really injured. If she can get taken out by these Bastiladons, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, you know. And that is another massive hit. Only 774 health left. That is really bad. That is really bad. So, doing their best, try and pin these guys down. The Way Watchers pushing in to try and get in a position where they can shoot down these Bastiladons. And they will do some mad damage here. So, down to half health from one volley. But look at this, 500 health now. Gladelord is struggling, and this is beautiful. So, Prey of Anathrema to stop 10-1 from moving, and then a beautiful breath attack straight into him from above. Not enough to finish him, though. 290 health left. He is wavering, but look at this. The Gladelord is broken. The Bastiladons doing exactly what they had to do, and so close to the line. That Gladelord is gone. She is gone. Just couldn't handle the heat, you know, because it's a lava map, and I think that's funny. So here you can see plenty of arrow fire coming from the Bastiladon. The Way Watchers just have so much ammunition left that they can just keep up this attack. And over here you can see Wild Riders trying to chase off Tehennowin, who has broken. And, yeah, more units breaking. But, look at this. The Bastiladon actually managed to start terrifying some units. Because, of course, they do cause terror. And there's no Lord anymore. The Gladies just disappeared, so these guys are hanging on by a thread. Actually, these guys are looking pretty secure still, but the rest of the army, leadership is bad. Certainly enough to terrify them. But Bastildon running low on ammunition now, which is a real pity. A real pity for them. And you can see the balance of power is starting to creep way up. So although it can start causing some terror, it's too little too late, I'm afraid. So big old hit on the Wild Riders. Nearly break them to try and bail out the other Bastildon, but everything's already shattering. And that is a Pyrrhic victory. Really hard fought. Really hard fought by both players there. I think h455566hh just put on so much pressure, and that's exactly what you need to do against the Wood Elves, and it almost worked. It almost paid off. I think the biggest factor was the fact that Loupi was able to just completely shut down the Umbral Tide very quickly. The Umbral Tide, if something like, a unit of Wild Riders is able to get properly wrapped up by things like the Cold One Riders, we saw one volley from them. It did a huge amount of damage to the Wild Riders. It could have kept that up, but it just didn't have quite enough protection on that flank. Too many units were focused on one unit of the Wood Elves, and with the Prey of Anathrema as well, Loupi was able to just cancel out threats there and focus on the Umbral Tide. The damage potential of the Umbral Tide is gigantic, but it is a risky pick, just given the fact that they get so outranged by the Wood Elves and outpaced by the Wood Elves. These are two, half of this army basically is a great counter to the Umbral Tide. Sadly, the Umbral Tide is a great counter to all of this if it can get those shots off, and I think a lot of this strategy was pinning on that, and that I think might have been a mistake. Swap these out for another unit of Cold Ones, and that might have worked, The result might have been differently, might have gone differently, but yeah, I'm very, very amazed at just how well this army did. It just managed to push in all the right places, but so much pressure. The Way Watchers had spent so much time retreating, they couldn't be shooting at the targets they needed to, and those targets were the Bastillodons, who absolutely killed it. They did so much work. Most of the kills they got, actually I say most of the kills they got, they did actually kill a lot of Eternal Guard, but they're getting some great shots on the Wild Riders, which was, a huge debuff to their melee stats, which is super useful, and yeah, also just took out that Glade Lord. They helped take out the Spellsinger. They did so much work there. They just did damage in critical places to help keep that momentum going and keep the pressure on, but sadly just ran out of energy by the end. But yeah, wonderful fight, super close. Love to see these kind of matches. So guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.